Two is tracking the economy, and tonight, a difficult job market now for recent college graduates.
It is. New data shows unemployment is higher for young grads than it is for college-educated workers overall. News 2's Kelly Milan reports.
Recent college graduates, those between 22 and 27, are facing an unemployment rate of 5.8%. That's nearly double the rate for workers of all ages with college degrees. For students preparing to graduate, the once reliable pipeline into professional jobs now feels uncertain.
It's a lot more difficult, I think.
University of Virginia senior Shivani Vedhir majors in computer science, a field long associated with certainty and demand.
Process starts way before now. At this point, the jobs have dwindled down and offers are almost all given out.
Vedhir compares the job search today to what she saw just a few years ago when she was a freshman.
At that point, getting a job in computer science or software engineering was a lot easier. A lot of people I knew were getting jobs in Amazon, Microsoft, all of the big companies that right now it's almost impossible to get a job in.
Economists say what makes this moment confusing is not economic weakness.
So why is the job market locked up? And I think the answer there is largely that businesses hate uncertainty.
One source of that uncertainty, artificial intelligence and how it may reshape entry-level work.
There's this belief in AI, which I think is largely inflated because we've spent too much time listening to people tell us what it could do rather than what it's actually doing.
Yeah, so I definitely agree. There's been a lot of everyone listening to what AI is going to do and things like that, and even with it, developing every day and advancing as far as development, I still feel like jobs are or employers are definitely putting a lot into that, and they definitely want to still keep some type of human element as far as their work. And I know they're trying to save on wages, and that's sometimes a large majority of what they have to spend every month is on wages. But you have grads coming out with computer science degrees and are not able to get a job. That really speaks volumes to how things are changing, because as the student was saying, a few years ago, you graduate with a computer science degree, you could definitely find a job at one of the bigger companies, and now, they're definitely not hiring as much, and if they are hiring, there's a lot of jobs that are kind of like working with AI and stuff like that. That they're not going to pay the highest of salaries. One thing I do know is that like cybersecurity, like just protecting all of these digital assets is definitely something that is still growing. And I feel like in the United States, we still have a shortage of cybersecurity professionals. Whether you're trying to protect, government assets, business assets, telecommunication assets, it's a lot of opportunity within that field. Maybe not necessarily as far as development and things like that, because these companies are building these AIs to develop software and to write code and things like that. So if of course you want to definitely have that as a skill, but you also want to be able to protect a lot of this technology and a lot of the infrastructure, even down to like water plants and anything that's going to use some type of internet or machinery, or have automation to it. Those systems can be infiltrated. Um, and of course, I don't have all the answers, and I know healthcare as well. You're never going to be at a point to where healthcare professionals aren't needed, and good healthcare professionals too at that. Not just people who just want to get into healthcare just because it pays well. People who actually care about human life and the preservation of that, and they actually have a passion for that type of stuff. But I wouldn't go for anything liberal arts, anything that's like not necessarily going to pay off in the end. Anything that's not necessarily important. You definitely want to get into a field to where you can see like, okay, this is what we're shifting to. This is something I need to like take a look at. Um, of course, being an architect, doing construction, electrician, plumbing, as we'll always need those type of things, because you have to have like apartments are going to need these. People who build homes are going to need these. People who build offices are going to need these. These positions. So you know, it's just a shift in the economy. The economy is shifting. Job market is shifting. The uncertainty with AI, the advancement with technology. So you have to try to it's crazy to say, man. You have to try to foresee what's next to come, and a lot of times that's hard to do, especially if you're already within a certain major and you're close to graduating. You're hoping to graduate and find a job, but as you see, man, it's very tough out here.
According to new data released Monday by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Tennessee had 171,000 job openings in October. The state unemployment rate remains low at around 3.6%. Economists say that number can mask just how difficult it is for young and entry-level workers to break in.
Yeah, so a lot of entry level jobs are kind of being wiped out. I could see it myself when I look in Indeed and just look at other jobs, sites and stuff like that. Best thing you can do is just, make sure you have the skills that, these jobs are looking for. When you're looking at jobs, look at the description of the job, look at the requirements, look at some of these things. Like this is for, high school kids going into college. Like I would take my time as a high school senior at this point, see if it's a job that you think you would be interested in doing, for a career. Of course, looking at the requirements and going after those requirements. A lot of times you can get jobs just by knowing someone. So your network is your net worth a lot of times, and you just have to approach it a lot differently. It's an unorthodox time, so you have to go to on unorthodox ways to kind of get around the fact that a lot of places aren't hiring. It's not just this huge hiring boom, and that could change, but we'll just have to see. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. If you like my content, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.